This is Zestology, new rules for living with energy, vitality and motivation. I'm Tony Whiten in the park in autumn, very autumnal day, and I'm fresh from a meat course actually. I went and learned how to slice up meat. Not just any old meat, not hormone pumped antibiotic fed meat, but beautiful grass-fed, pasture-fed, free-range meat. It was a ginger pig butchery course, and I went with my buddies Matt and Tim, and they make you put some very attractive overalls on. I look a little bit like an 80s kind of convict from a soap opera, and we learned how to slice up meat. And I think, bearing in mind I'm a meat enthusiast, I didn't really know where the parts of the body were that corresponded to, say, rump and sirloin and flat iron and all the different kind of cuts of meat that you might get, T-bone and so on. So it's fun. We learned a bit, and then we got to prepare our own meat. I wasn't very good at the butcher's knot bit or the French trimming bit. In fact, I wasn't really very good at any of it, but none of us were. And then you got to take home some meat and eat a lot of good meat as well. And I think kind of just deepening an appreciation of really good quality meat was a nice thing from that day. And certainly I've noticed over the last year or two, as we tend to spend more money on meat than we used to, and maybe eat less but spend more money on it, you can so tell the difference. So that was good. Thank you to Faith for giving me the ginger pig butchery course. It's a nice present for someone. I'm sure it wasn't cheap either. Today's podcast is with a man who probably does eat a fair amount of meat. He is keto, bit of a theme developing, isn't there, on Zestology? And he definitely is another Zestology guest that puts butter in his coffee. I already knew Jason Wittrock really knew his stuff about ketosis, the high-fat, low-carb diet that gives you more energy, helps with inflammation and a host of other things. And of course, a disclaimer, check with your practitioner before you start on the ketosis diet. But I didn't know how much fun Jason would be and how much energy he would have. Talk about walking the walk. The guy has bags full of energy, and it was so much fun talking to him. He's just got loads of enthusiasm for keto. He's infectious, and he's great. The only difficulty is when Americans call me bro. They say, "Hey bro, how you doing?" I never know how to reply. I'm always slightly awkward. Yes mate, very good, thank you. I think Americans are just a lot more informal than us Brits, aren't they? Or just better at calling each other bro, probably. Just doesn't sound right coming out of my English mouth. Hey bro, how are you? Apart from that, he's awesome. Here he is, Jason Wittrock on Zestology.
You can call me a fitness model, you could have called me a bodybuilder, you could have called me a personal trainer, you could have called me a coach, you can call me whatever you want, but I'm essentially the guy that's gonna try and help you change your life, mostly through diet and exercise. So that's what I do. I just kind of help people who want to lose weight, build muscle, but really overall just change themselves as a whole. And so that's what I do.
Now, how I found you was I was on Instagram, and a lot of sentences probably start that way these days. And you're keto, and you've also got this incredibly chiseled body, and you seem to kind of post quite of inspirational ketogenic stuff. And I thought, well, I'll follow you, and that's how I kind of first came to know about you. So that's how I found you.
Yeah, that's good. So I put a lot of information out on Instagram, especially keto related. People do pay attention, especially when I just take my shirt off. They all of a sudden believe. Keto's a hard thing to believe in. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's a hard thing to kind of grasp in the beginning. But I think when you see somebody like me who lives and dies by how I look, which is terrible, but it's true, and to see that I have faith in some kind of strategy, a diet, people kind of pay attention. So I try and be the best ambassador for the keto movement as I can.
Yeah, well, you are. And one of the first things that I really wanted to ask you is I've been kind of keto for about almost 18 months, really. And when I say keto, not all the time, but quite a lot of the time. If someone puts an apple crumble in front of me, I'm probably going to eat it. But
that's probably smart. So you don't offend the person because that person might have been your mother putting an apple crumble in front of you.
Yeah, exactly.
So, I got you.
But And I found that, the real benefits are energy and also my gut health. Just it kind of seems to help out with the gut health. One of the things I've found hard is I like to go to the gym, and I'm a bit bean Polish by nature, and I've got chicken legs, and I would love to build a little bit of muscle. And, I can hardly escape the fact on your Instagram that you're pretty stacked. So how do I do it whilst eating keto?
Make sure you don't undereat. That's one of the hard parts about the diet. Well, that's one of the hard parts about diets in general is people always tend to think that it's calories in, calories out. And so they undereat. They associate I'm eating too much and I want to lose weight, so I better eat less. That's not good for building muscle. Promise you. I promise. So you want to make sure that you keep listening to your own body's signals. Make sure that you eat when you're hungry and don't undereat. And you should notice the more muscle you build, the hungrier you get. If you're not getting hungrier, you're not building muscle. And so the other, kind of piece of advice I would say you can try and manipulate is the protein ratio. Somebody like you, I've already seen your physique online. Trust me, I do my research too. You are insulin sensitive, where most of your listeners are probably the opposite, which is insulin resistant. Most people grow up overweight. They get fat very quickly, and they have to do everything they can to control insulin production, which, as you know, is like the foundation of all of this. Control blood sugar and insulin. Protein spikes blood sugar and insulin. So if you're trying to lose a bunch of weight, you're best to keep that down to a moderate level. However, for you, somebody like you, who you're focused on building muscle, I think you can kind of put the protein a little bit higher, maybe 30%, whereas traditionally it's 10 to 20%. And that might help you out as well. I notice when I eat a lot of steak and eggs, I build a lot of muscle.
Really?
So,
okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So you can get away with having a higher protein threshold. You must make sure you don't undereat. You can take things like creatine monohydrate, which I'm always a big believer in. It's the most studied, cheapest, supplement there is to buy that's going to get the maximum amount of benefits. So get creatine monohydrate unflavored, and lift heavy, bro.
Lift heavy. Okay, yeah. Because the whole kind of bro science thing, 15 years ago, it'd be go to the gym, massive protein shake, and then just eat as much as you can. And that's not really that's not really the way the keto diet works, is it?
No, definitely not. There's so much bro stuff you have to kind of sift through. Yeah. It's kind of like just if you're hungry after your workouts, eat. As long as you eat high fat foods, you're gonna, and by the way, you can still spike protein synthesis without carbohydrates. There's a big debate on whether you need carbohydrates to build muscle. I'm sure you've kind of gone through that dilemma yourself.
Yes, the big rabbit hole, And actually, I have to say, I do feel like I do bulk up a little bit when I do eat carbs.
Hell yeah, so do I, man. Everybody does. But here's the interesting thing. Every single professional fitness model bodybuilder like myself, you know what we do when we get ready for shows? We cut carbs. Everybody does. It's not even negotiable. Some people like me back in the day, before I knew about keto, I would cut carbs 4 weeks out from a show. Like the big guys, the big dudes, they're cutting carbs. They're starting to slowly taper carbs back at like 12 weeks before a show, and they slowly taper them down until they get to 0 on show day. So, but then it's just the opposite. You start putting the carbs back in, you're going to get bigger again. And then all these guys are like, oh, you need carbs to build muscle. Carbs, in my opinion, from my experience, will help you build muscle quicker, but you will pay for that in body fat.
Okay.
You see?
Yeah.
So you can shove down a bunch of carbs, get stronger, build some muscle, but it's going to hide under a layer of fat. You will get fatter. Trust me. If a guy like me, and I'm a genetic freak, bro. If a guy like me, I've been shredded since I was in 6th grade. I'm not afraid to admit it. My parents, I got super lucky. I can't even mess with carbs. Not even me.
Right. And you're a genetic freak.
Yeah, and I'm a freak. So the average person, good luck, man. You'll build muscle, but you're going to get fat at the same damn time. And then what ends up happening, Tony, is they say, okay, well, that's fine. I just want to build muscle. I'll get the fat. And so what they do then is they built this muscle, but they've also got all this fat now, and they need to get rid of it because they want to get shredded all of a sudden. Well, guess what they do when they decide they want to get shredded? They just cut their carbs, keep the protein up because they're bros. They end up getting shredded, but they lose all the muscle that they just spent 6, 7, 8 months trying to build. And that is why I do the ketogenic diet, my friend, is because ketones are protein sparing. I made that mistake so many times in my career. Time to cut, better cut the carbs out because that's obvious. Keep the protein super high, drop the fat. You end up getting shredded and losing muscle. When I went keto, I was keeping carbs down effortlessly, had energy from the fat. The ketones were protein sparing, and all of a sudden I found like the holy grail. Bro, I found this diet like 4 years ago by accident in a medical setting, and I wanted to keep it a secret. I did not want to be doing podcasts about this shit because I want to know. I was using it was like a competitive.
I feel like that about some of the stuff on Zestology as well. It's almost like I don't want to share it.
It's like a competitive advantage. I'm sitting here now watching all my friends struggle to stay shredded because when you just cut carbs and you don't increase the fat and you just bump the protein up to ungodly amounts, you feel like crap.
Yeah.
Like you can't sustain that. And I was living that life for so long, and all of a sudden I'm like, wait a minute, this is crazy. All of a sudden I can cut carbs, have energy, and not lose muscle and feel like unstoppable. I literally was like, I can't tell anybody about this.
I wonder if some people are listening. Yeah, and I wonder if some people are listening and thinking, great, I want the model body, but is it really that important? Isn't it more important to have the kind of model mind, a healthy mind at the same time?
Yeah, well, that diet. Yeah, that's the thing is most people think that it's all look like this and do that, but it has more benefits on the inside, things that you can't see, the non-superficial stuff that most people don't want to talk to me about, to be honest with you. Do you know what I mean? The reduced inflammation, the better triglyceride levels, keeping the cholesterol in balance and under control.
And of course, all that stuff is why I did keto in the first place.
Yeah, but it's not talked about. It's not really, it's people want to lose weight, period. That's all they care about mostly. But in the process, are you still being healthy doing it? Are you improving your overall health? Because let's admit, you can lose weight. Just go starve yourself.
Yeah.
Forget the diet. Just go starve yourself. But you're not going to, because I was a former wrestler and that's what I did. That's what I knew was starve yourself and go run endless amounts of miles on the treadmill. That's not healthy though. Terrible for your body. Yeah. Keto is being used to cure cancer. I found it in a medical setting. Like I said, I worked with kids who had suffered from mental illness, and they brought me in as a trainer, and I was a bro. You know what I mean? I'm like, what the hell's going on here? I'm used to people saying, hey, help me get bigger biceps, help me get a six pack. Now here I am in front of kids who suffer from mental illness, cutters, kids that tried to commit suicide 3 days before, severe bipolar, you name it, these kids had it. They all took a medication that made them gain a ton of weight, like ridiculous amounts of weight, super fast. Basically the end story for most of these kids, they die by the time they're 35, 40 years old from all the complications of the medication. So the study was trying to combat that weight loss. Guess what they used? The ketogenic diet. When they told me that shit, I was like, you got to be kidding me. Like, here I am crushing 300 grams of carbs. These kids are taking in 200 grams of fat. I'm like, yo, you are trying to kill these kids.
Yeah, yeah.
But it worked. And I saw it firsthand. And that's when I said, okay, this is crazy. I mean, I got to see all the data. I got to see all the triglyceride levels go down, the LDL go down, HDL go up. At the end of the study, they assume they've saved 10 years off these kids' lives. And but that really was like I had ingrained in my mind fear fat. I had what I call fat phobia, and now I'm sitting here watching these doctors give copious amounts of fat to patients to save their damn life. And I was like, wow.
Yeah, and to you, and in terms of the, just one more question on the model bod. Not that it's important. It is a little bit.
It is, though. But go ahead.
It is about calories. If it is fat, that's okay as long as you're getting the calories in.
Correct.
Right.
Are you ask your question a different way? I don't know if I understand. Are you saying?
So you're saying make sure you get enough calories on the ketogenic diet, because it can actually be quite hard if you're having lots of nice salads and a bit of dressing and that kind of thing. But what you're saying is you still need to have the calories, but it's okay if your macros mean that your fat is high. That's okay. It's still calories.
Let me throw it down for your listeners like this. I do not personally track calories. The beautiful thing about the ketogenic diet is it regulates your system. It regulates your hormones, mainly insulin. Okay, by regulating blood sugar and insulin. That's the beauty of the diet. You're you're like a lion in the wild, okay? And you can start trusting your instincts. When you're hungry, you can eat. It's a true signal. When you're running on carbs, they're like drugs. Every time you eat them, your blood sugar goes through the roof, insulin comes pouring out, start storing fat. When all that stuff falls, you're hungry again 2 hours later. You can't trust that signal. But because the ketogenic diet regulates your hormones, it will regulate its caloric amount. It will tell you when it needs food, and you can trust that. The very first thing you notice when you get into ketosis, which means your body is burning fat for fuel, the very first thing you notice, correct me if I'm wrong, reduction in appetite, especially in the morning.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. It's great.
Yeah, because your body is all of a sudden able to tap into its own body fat. It doesn't, and it's not addicted to the drugs anymore. It doesn't have to say, hey, go find your dealer, man, we're out. You know what I mean? Like, go out and score some more sugar, bro, because we out. and so, you know what I mean? And so your body's perfectly regular. It's like, we don't even need to eat right now because we're burning our own body fat, thank God. And the reason it can burn its own body fat, just for your listeners to understand, is because insulin levels are low. Insulin is the hormone that stores fat. It takes glucose and stores fat. Anytime you have high amounts of insulin in your bloodstream, it locks fat cells. It prevents fat from ever leaving the cell. I don't give a shit if you go work out. If you have high amounts of insulin, meaning if you eat carbs before you go work out and you have insulin levels that are high, guess what you're burning? Carbs, not fat.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, it all comes down to insulin and blood sugar control.
Yeah.
And so the good thing about fat is it doesn't spike insulin or blood sugar. Yeah?
Yeah.
And you can't just sit there. Like if I gave you a plate full of pancakes, let's say I gave you guys rock pancakes in England, right?
we have pancakes in England. We have pancake day.
What'd you say, the apple thing, apple crisp, what'd you call it?
Oh, apple crumble.
Apple crumble.
Apple crumble.
One of those. Yeah, but if I gave you 5 apple crumbles, you could probably crush them all, right?
Yeah. Oh, I've got such a sweet tooth. Yeah.
Yeah, but if I gave you 5 steaks, could you crush all 5 of those steaks? Hell no.
I don't think so, no.
No, because your body just has this way of saying, okay, we got what we want. We're good. We're shutting this dude off.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I'm saying? And so that's why it's not important to focus on the calories. Some days are going to be different on the ketogenic diet. Like if you come train legs with me today, you're going to eat a hell of a lot more tomorrow, Tony. I promise. But as long as so let me clear this up for you and your listeners. So although I don't count calories and I don't count like grams of things, I do track what are called percentages. So again, like I said, I let my body decide, because I can, how many calories it needs on a particular day. At the end of the day, my goal is to make sure that, let's say I had 2,000 calories at the end of today. My goal is to make sure that 70 to 80% of those calories came from fat. 10 to 20% of those calories come from protein, and 5 to 10% come from carbohydrates. So I keep the fat at 70 to 80% because I want to keep blood sugar and insulin under control. Like I said, fat doesn't spike blood sugar and insulin. Also, I know if I eat 70 to 80% of my calories from fat, I'm getting that satiety signal. I know that, you know what I mean? Like my body will let me know when I'm full. If that were 70 to 80% carbs, not happening. 10 to 20% protein is important because, like I said, protein spikes insulin. You want to keep that under control. 10 to 20% is like the threshold for me and most of the people I work with. And then 5 to 10% carbohydrates, or the general rule is always less than 50 grams total carbs, not net carbs, total carbs. If you can, and then you just let your body decide, like today might be a 2,000 calorie day for me. I'm still going to hit those ratios. And there's a pie chart in MyFitnessPal and like all these tracking apps where you can see.
Yeah, you can work it out. Yeah.
You can see the percentages. And so you're just eating. Some days you eat 1 meal a day. Some days 2, 3, 4. God, who knows? Who cares? At the end of the day, you look at that pie chart and you are within those ratios, you're good.
I found a little hack with that, Jason, and that is that if you I find if I have butternut squash, I can almost have any amount of butternut squash, and it doesn't seem to count like normal carbs. Doesn't throw me out.
Yeah, that's good. I don't eat too much butternut squash.
Oh, it's great. For some reason, it just seems to agree, and it keeps me in ketosis. So it's a little hack around having a few carbs more than you want.
You brought up MCT oil, which I think is a very underused supplement. In this game, there's exogenous ketones. What do you think about those?
I have used them a little bit, but I don't use them on an ongoing basis.
Yeah. Good. They're good in the beginning. I'm not a fan of them. No. That's why I always ask you first. If you're like, I love them, I'm not going to say anything.
No, my instinct is I'm just not like, I really like kind of simple, natural foods. I like to keep things primal if possible. But I have to say, every once in a while, if you need to pick me up, it is really strong having an exogenous
Yeah.
ketone.
Yeah, but like you said, I prefer MCT oil
Yeah.
well above exogenous ketones. You want to burn your own ketones as a byproduct of fat. You don't want to just dump a bunch of protein or ketones in your system and tell your system to burn that.
Yeah.
MCT oil is different. It just goes straight to the liver and gets converted as real true ketones.
Yeah.
Right. So for those of you out there that might be like, yeah, I want to do this diet. How do I increase the fat? How do I get all this fat? Oils are a great way to do that. So olive oil, MCT oil, coconut oil especially is fantastic. You can have avocado oil. Just stay away from the vegetable oils. Eat tons and tons and tons of eggs. Tony, did you know that they rank protein sources on how much they spike insulin? You've heard of the glycemic index before, right?
Yeah.
Which ranks carbohydrates based on how much they raise blood sugar. Well, they've done the same for protein. It's called the insulin index.
Right.
And so then when you see that, you're like, oh, damn. And I think they actually did it in the UK. I think that's where the first people that actually did the insulin index. Anyways, you'll see that a lot of protein spikes insulin almost just as much as carbs. But the almighty, incredible, edible egg spikes insulin and blood sugar the least. So I encourage everybody that's watching this that wants to lose a lot of weight, eat a lot of eggs.
Right. Yeah. I love an egg.
Yeah, me too. I eat 5-6 a day.
I mean, I have to say one of the things that I do is I kind of, as I said, I don't do it religiously. And, if I'm kind of on holiday or out in the town or whatever, it might just turn out that I'm not keto all the time. What do you think about doing it, say 5 days on, 2 days off, or just when the mood grabs you? And in terms of your metabolism, is that actually a good thing to occasionally cycle out of ketosis?
There's debate on whether there is or not. I have a friend who suffers from brain cancer, and he uses the ketogenic diet for that. It's not good for him to cycle in and out because he's fighting. Because for all the listeners, again, cancer cells survive off glucose. And so the good thing about the ketogenic diet is it pretty much keeps glucose non-existent. So it starves cancer out. So for him, he can't roll like that. But here's the most important thing, man. Everybody that I've talked to goes into this diet, the keto diet, they get super excited and they're like, this is amazing. I'm never going to touch carbs again. And I'm going to eat all the fat I can. And they're good. They go through it ideally. You know what I mean? Yeah. And then reality hits them in the face. You got your kid's birthday party coming up, bro. You gonna eat that cake? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're gonna go out. You're going out to dinner with the boss, and the boss just said you're gonna go to an Italian restaurant. You're gonna eat that pasta. Or you're gonna tell your boss that you're on a diet, make him insecure, and get fired in the next week. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
And so you have to. But people, that's just reality. And people come up with all these rationalizations for, oh, I cheated, but this. Just so what? You cheated because you're a normal person, you're human, and that's completely fine. I don't know if it's good or a bad thing. My goal personally, stay keto, not even just keto, just keep the carbs down, the fat up as much as possible, as long as I can. When I have a cheat meal, I don't overthink it. I don't get upset with myself. I'm right back on the train the very next day. I don't overanalyze any of it. And I'm back on. The next day, it's like it never even happened. Yeah. I completely forget. I don't give a shit about any of it. It's like, had my cheat meal, back on the mission. Don't know if it was good or bad. Don't care. All I know is I'm good today.
And what about, in terms of your routine, what about today? What are your ketones at? What have you eaten today? I know it's a bit earlier in the day for you than it is for me right now.
Yeah, so it's 10:30 in the morning here. Okay. I never eat breakfast. I just couldn't eat breakfast if I tried.
Me too. Nice black coffee will do me.
Yeah, so I'm actually experimenting with the black coffee. Actually, it's funny you say that because I'm having a regular black coffee right now. It's rather enjoyable. But typically, I would put butter and coconut oil in my coffee and blend it up. Yeah. And make a keto coffee, but not today. Okay. I just went with black coffee. Yeah. And I will go work out as soon as we get off the phone here. I will go in what's called a fasted state, which means my blood sugar and my insulin levels are rock bottom, which means all the workout I do, all the hard work I put in, I'm going to be burning fat, not carbs.
Right.
My insulin levels are low, so my cells are unlocked. The fat cells are unlocked, so I'm going to go maximize it.
Yeah.
The biggest mistake people make, probably in this country and probably yours as well, is they wake up first thing in the morning, and since they've been asleep for 8 hours, their blood sugar and their insulin levels are finally down to a normal range. But when they wake up in the morning, they go right to the carbs. They go eat their cereal and oatmeal and fruit, and they spike the hell out of their blood sugar and insulin levels. and the roller coaster ensues for the rest of the day. I do the opposite. I wake up in the morning and I say, well, thank God I just slept for 8 hours. My blood sugar and insulin levels are under control. Let's keep them under control as long as possible.
And I know from having followed you on Instagram that you have a flourishing family, and I think you've got a second one on the way. So congratulations on that.
Thanks very much.
It's brilliant, and I can tell that you've got a lot of energy. So it's obviously working for you, even though some say that being a parent certainly takes its toll on sleep. How has it impacted, firstly, on your energy levels, but also your partners? And is keto something that women should be doing, quite as hardcore as men? Is it something that's a little bit more complicated in terms of female hormones as opposed to male hormones?
No, I don't know about all that, to be honest with you. I just look at the results that women. I've worked with tons and tons of women who've gotten amazing results. Regulating the hormones. A lot of times their cycle comes back, their periods and things like that become more regular. Also, there's something called high-fat, low-carb babies. If you just go look up high-fat, low-carb babies on the internet, it's basically just a ton of women who essentially suffered from infertility and decided to cut the carbs and increase the healthy fats, all of a sudden became fertile and had babies. So PCOS, polycystic ovarian syndrome, is very common amongst women here in the United States. And research has proven that the ketogenic diet, or just namely cutting carbs and increasing fat, helps the symptoms of that. So I would recommend the ketogenic diet to women just as much as men. For me and my wife does not follow it. She kept the carbohydrates under control, but she's not as strict.
That's pretty similar to me and my girlfriend, actually. She's lowish carb, but some carbs. And that's fine. Everybody's different. We all have to respect each other, and and it's totally cool. I don't get like tempted when she's eating stuff that I'm not going to eat. It's no big deal. In terms of Paxton, because everybody wants to know if my son's, they're like, oh, the Keto King's going to raise the Keto Prince. Like my poor son. Keto King's going to raise the Keto Prince.
The minute my kid puts sugar on his Instagram one day, he's going to get bombarded. Do you know who your dad is? No, but he's allergic to nuts and eggs, which are two very important things on the ketogenic diet. So I'm like, this kid might be a vegan. That'd be my luck.
Oh my goodness! Wow, so that's not easy. But in terms of carbs, he's not a high fat, low carb baby. He's just kind of getting on with it with lots of nice healthy food.
Yeah, that's correct. No, he's not. But there are plenty of women. My wife did suffer from PCOS, and she did keep the carbohydrates under control, but she was not high fat enough to really say that. But it does work for people that suffer from infertility. Yeah. For sure.
Well, Jason, I can just hear the energy. I mean, talk about sleepless nights. I don't think you're having any. You're just feeling great, aren't you? Brother.
I'm on a mission, and I just, I just want to make sure that, people get the right message out. And I know that keto can be confusing, especially in the beginning. I'm not sure if it was for yourself, but there's a lot of info out there, Yeah. And it doesn't have to be difficult. The main thing you have to realize is, they lied to you. Basically. Carbohydrates are not, here in the United States, we had what's called the food pyramid. They told you to eat 60 to 70% of your calories from carbs, from grains. Got to feed the people with the cheap stuff, man. So I'm just trying to wake people up, and I take my responsibility very seriously. And anytime I get a chance to talk to somebody like you, I'm on fire, bro.
Oh yeah. Well, I'm actually off to the gym in about an hour's time to do legs day. And I'm gonna really hit it hard. I like a legs day.
Yeah, me too. It's great. I'm telling you right now, I find that legs respond best to high reps. Do you do leg press?
Yes. Well, it's funny because actually before about like 2 years ago, I was probably like a typical bloke. All I did in the gym was upper body and no legs at all. And then I was like, I'm a bit top heavy here. And actually now that I do legs, surprised. You feel more energy on the legs as well, because maybe it's because it's bigger weights. I don't know.
Yeah, and there's a weird thing, like when you train your lower body, your legs, your upper body kind of responds quicker, like it like wants to get brought up in balance with it. So
I found that. I really have found that. And am I imagining it or not? I was really thinking, I don't know why, but that's definitely the case, isn't it?
Yeah, and here's what I recommend. Go to the gym, find a leg press machine, okay?
Yeah.
Okay, and then put a light weight on and rep out 50 reps, okay? And then take a rest, and then increase the weight slightly, and then rep out 40. Okay.
Yeah.
Then take a rest, increase the weight a little bit again, then do 30. Then same thing, then do 20, then do 10, and then think of me and thank me later. Okay. So 50,
Oh, yeah.
so 50, 40, 30, 20, 10, rest in between, try and increase the weight between each sets as well. And I promise you'll see the next day that legs respond very, very well to high repetitions because they're slow twitch muscles. You walk around all day with them. You know?
That's interesting. And actually, I've always felt that one leg, in this country, we love our soccer, we love our football, and we grow up playing football. I'm a very one-sided football player. I'm right-footed, and I can't barely kick the ball with my left foot.
Yeah.
So a bit one-sided, and I know that one side is stronger than the other. So when I do leg press, I do one leg and then
Single
the
legs,
other.
smart.
Is that better?
Yeah.
Would you say?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, totally.
Okay.
I find the same thing is true as well. I like doing a lot of single leg stuff, especially even like single leg extensions and all that.
Yeah.
I just find you can get better contractions as well. So, hey man, you keep working hard, but
yeah. What about the adductor? Is it the adductor machine? I like that one. That's a good one.
Those are no joke.
Yeah.
A lot of guys stay away from those machines because the girls dominate them, but that thing is no joke. And how many days, let's talk about the abs real quick before you let me go. How many days a week are you training the abs?
Abs. We see now, you're probably going to be shaking your head in dismay right now.
I will.
I normally tag on a little bit of abs to any workout. But it'd be like a 5-minute afterthought at the end of a workout.
Yeah. Just as long as if it becomes, sometimes maybe try and train them at the beginning of the workout.
Yeah, and I've also got a confession to make, and that is I normally do the abs exercise that I like the most. So that's probably not very good.
That's usually the safest one, you mean.
Yeah.
You're just basically just checking the box and getting out.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Take the ab training very seriously, and it just like it's the foundation of everything. All your lifts will go up the stronger your core is. Planks are amazing, and so really focus on the ab training. I promise you, it's worth it.
Okay, all right. I'm legs and abs now in the gym.
There you go.
Yeah.
Legs and abs, and hit abs first, because I guarantee you, Tony, if you put yourself through a good leg workout, you ain't going to hit abs after legs. I know you. I've worked with too many people, bro. Abs first, then legs.
Now, Jason, what is one book that you would recommend and one tip for living with more energy, vitality, and motivation? You've listened to the podcast. You knew I was going to ask this question. And obviously, I've been following you on Instagram and really enjoying your pearls of wisdom. But what are the books and the tips that you would come up for Zestology listeners?
I got to give two. One, diet and exercise related, and then two books that pretty much changed my life big time. The first one was before I was even in the diet and exercise space. That is a book called The 48 Laws of Power by Robert Greene.
Oh, yeah.
I read that book 10, 12 years ago, and I was just some young kid just trying to figure the world out. I had all these ambitions, and I wanted to figure people out. I wanted to figure out all this stuff, and I just randomly came across this book because it had power written across it. And I'm like, yeah, I want that. And I read it, and it was an absolutely brilliant book. The 48 Laws of Power goes through a lot of history, important things you need to keep in mind if you want to be successful, some of the inner workings of how this crazy life of ours really work. And I suggest you read that book by him, The 48 Laws of Power. And then the book that changed my life when it comes to my profession, my career, and helping people out is a book called Why We Get Fat by Gary Taubes, Taubes, Why We Get Fat. Phenomenal book on essentially everything we spoke about. Even though he doesn't discuss the ketogenic diet, it's all basically exonerating fat and letting people know that carbohydrates, there's a lot of people, sadly, Tony, that they need to lose weight, but they're never going to try because they've been told their whole life that it's all about calories in, calories out, that they just have to starve themselves out and go work out more. And they're not willing to do that, because who is willing to do that? Who is willing to continuously starve themselves out for long periods of time and then go run when they don't run ever? And so they just never try. And that's why the ketogenic diet has given hope to so many people, and why this low carb movement is real is because it's given people hope. So that book kind of digs a little bit more into the science behind it all.
Yeah, and then what about the tip for more energy? Let me guess. Is it something to do with keto?
For more energy, drink more water, man. I know it sounds crazy and silly and dumb. Like, how is this dude that knows all this stuff going to tell me to just drink more water? But that's the one thing, man. When I start feeling low energy, or I just start, and then I go chug a bunch of water, it really does like rejuvenate me. I put lemon in my water too, if you want to get fancy. But stay hydrated, man.
Yeah.
Keep the water flowing. It's like the easiest thing to make yourself feel better. No doubt.
And it's actually quite hard to stay hydrated with keto. I get so thirsty.
Yeah, totally. Make sure with keto, by the way, you keep your electrolytes up. Sodium, magnesium, potassium. Salt your food, eat salty snacks. Make sure you're getting a magnesium supplement. Eat those avocados and green leafy vegetables.
Yeah.
And drink your water. So yeah, that's my tip. And focus on single ingredient foods, I would say. Like if there was no such thing as keto, right, and we weren't talking about any of the keto stuff, my advice would be eat unprocessed, unrefined foods, like one ingredient foods: lettuce, steak, eggs, bacon, cheese, not like Fruit Loops and Chex and all these things. So
and not beta hydroxybutyrate.
No, just keep it to the single ingredient stuff, man, and go back to the simple form of food, man, before it got all crazy.
Jason, it's been so good to talk to you. I know you've got a great website, and I've obviously been following you on Instagram. Where can people find you and delve a little bit deeper into what you do?
Yeah, I think my YouTube is where I put most of my efforts, most of my stuff. So go look me up on YouTube. My last name is spelled Wittrock, Jason Wittrock. Just type that in. Or just Google me and you'll find whatever you need. But Tony, man, I really appreciate the opportunity to kind of help spread the word.
Yeah.
I appreciate you being an ambassador for us as well, being in your position. You've got a chance to really help a lot of people out. And I know you take it seriously, and that's why you're doing this podcast right now. So anything you need from me in the future, brother, I'm all yours.
Yeah. Well, thanks for the good energy. I feel super energized just having spoken to you.
Day. Go tear those legs up, bro. We got stuff. We got work to do.
I am going to be I'm going to be walking like the Lone Ranger after I finish in the gym tonight.
Think of me, man. All right.
All right. See you later.
It's been a pleasure. Keep working hard, brother.
There you go. That's it for today's podcast. Getting a model body and a healthy mind as well. Hope you enjoyed it. And hope you continue to enjoy perhaps a slightly higher fat, lower carb diet if that's for you. As always, thank you so much for listening. I've been doing a poll recently about whether to formalise the Zestology book club and kind of more formally encourage a small select group of Zestology followers to read a little bit more and read better as well. So if that sounds like something you'd be interested in, drop me a line, let me know. And I'll keep you posted on the podcast. As always, thank you for listening. And as always, thank you to Above and Beyond, who provided the theme music for Zestology. And it's been on this podcast every week since about week 16. Before that, it was a slightly radio-fied jingle. It definitely works better with the Above and Beyond music. So thank you to them, as always. And thank you for listening. See you next time.